Don't fall for the false narrative that stocks are a hedge against inflation. There's just no evidence for this. So when I say inflation, I'm not talking about the 2 to 3%, which is the Fed target. I'm talking real inflation, like what we're dealing with now. So here I am just on a Sunday morning, got something in my eye, just mind my own business, reading my stuff as I tend to do. I haven't showered, haven't brushed my teeth. Oh my goodness. Never mind not wearing a tie, having shaved, but I still got a fresh shave from yesterday. And I come across this from the Idea Farm from my man Med Faber. And this, well, I want to get in this PowerPoint presentation tonight on the live stream because lots of good stuff in here. Equity sectors suffer poor performance under high inflation. Could not agree. This is factual. It's not. See, that's the problem. We don't have any evidence other than the 70s and early 80s of high inflation. There is no evidence of this other than the one time it happened, and that's what we're going to show you here today. And it's kind of like, man, we don't have any evidence of deflation other than the 30s. We don't. I mean, we have just like tiny 6 months of deflation. No evidence of deflation either. It's very interesting, actually, how we can make prognostications based on just not enough data sets. One data set's of high inflation, one data set of deflation. That's it. Anyway, so let's keep going here. I want to show you. So here's energy. I have a chuckle at this. So when high inflationary regimes, example given 1970s are included, all equity sectors, including energy, perform poorly. I found this was kind of interesting here. So here's CPI in the bottom. That's the x-axis, I think. I think this is a y. I can't remember. But anyway, here's CPI. So we start with negative CPI right here. Now, this doesn't include the 30s, which I wish it did, but we're talking high inflation. So the 30s weren't in high inflation, so that's okay. But anyway, but I still wish it did, because if you showed what happened during stocks during negative inflation, i.e. deflation, it'd be even more, you'd see even more relevant data how bad deflation is for stocks. But be that as it may. So here we got zero CPI, so no increase in inflation at all. And you can see stocks don't perform well. Here's the stock returns. These are the real returns, 0 to 20%. Zero inflation to 14% inflation. So for energy specifically, as you go up right to about there, about 7% CPI, energy rises and rises and rises. And then it starts to level and then it falls. Interesting, is it not? Everything else here is healthcare. As CPI goes up, the rate of return goes down. As CPI goes up, going from left to right, the rate of return goes down. That's for financials. Manufacturing, as CPI goes up, the rate of return goes down. Everything else, as CPI, consumer non-durables, utilities, consumer durables, retail, as everything goes up. And that's Ken French, by the way. Isn't that interesting? I mean, the only reason this is happening is because what drives inflation is energy. It's not the Fed, it's energy. As energy costs go up, it's profitable for the energy concerns until they reach a, what do they call in economics? Diminishing returns. So they're getting paid, they're getting paid, they're getting paid, and then people start leveling off their expenditures, and what we see is a pullback in economic output, which ultimately hurts the energy sector. But isn't that interesting? There is no evidence at all of inflation being hedged by stocks. So let's go down to right up here. It goes to 2000, last 3 decades. And the last 3 decades, certain sectors have provided robust inflation protection. All right, but again, this is energy, healthcare, utilities, consumer staples. But we haven't had massive inflation over the last 3 decades. We haven't. So if this is the highest we're using for inflation, 6%. I mean, even 6% here, healthcare has kind of started having diminishing returns as inflation kicks in. Here you got right here, look at that, a parabola, whatever it's called. Anyway, you can see here, financials as inflation. It's just, you can see this whole thing, man. The higher the inflation, the lower the rates of return of stocks. So don't think stocks are a hedge against inflation. There's no, and gold too, by the way. Gold is not a hedge against inflation, for heaven's sake. You don't invest in gold for it as an investment mechanism. You invest in gold for an oh crap mechanism. All right, we'll go over this in the live stream tonight. Love to hear your thoughts.